Alright, welcome. This is episode 14 of Health Bunker Lime podcast. I'm your host, Dom, and today I invited on a good mate of mine who helped us set up our clinical side of our clinic going way back during the nonsense in 2020. I got to know him and he helped set the clinical procedures up to help us do the ozone TEMPAS treatments and the vitamin IVs at the clinic, and he also trained our nurses that work there still to this day. A lot of people have been asking me since I chatted to Oliver Eaton from Bedford about ozone injections. Well, where can we get ozone treatments in the Midlands or further down south? And Arron runs a clinic in Shrewsbury, and I'll put all his connection details in there, which might make it easier for people who live down that neck of the woods to get there, because obviously commitment and things like that are an issue from a time perspective, and travelling hours and hours and hours on a train when you're ill isn't always beneficial just to have a treatment, because it can be counterproductive. So today we're talking everything ozone, much to my eldest son's dislike. Somebody actually nicknamed me the Godfather of Ozone. I don't know about that one, but that name sort of stuck between me and Arron. We have a bit of a joke about it, but I've been doing ozone since 2008, and I've literally had hundreds if not thousands of treatments, either done by people like Arron or done to myself at home with my ozone equipment I have at home. And while we're talking, I'm going to be playing a video that me and Arron did about 2 or 3 years ago now, where I'm having an ozone TEMPAS treatment, just to give you some idea, while we're talking about these treatments, what actually goes on during a treatment. And you'll see it's very invasive. I'm having a good chat with Arron at the same time as having the treatment. You can't feel anything in the treatment. There's no pressure or anything. You don't feel the blood going in and out or anything like that. The only feeling you get is when obviously they're putting the cannulation in initially. After that, there's no feeling at all. Absolutely none. And so you can see him explaining about movements in the arms and things like that while we're having the treatment. So I hope this goes a long way to helping people understand what ozone therapy is. If you want to come and see us, you can email us at info@healthbunker.co.uk. Arron's email is in, and his details where his clinic is in the show notes, so you can connect with him there if you want to. And that's about it really. We talk about ozone TEMPAS therapies, making ozone water at home, and having ozone injections. And all these treatments are available not just if people are ill, but also from a sports performance perspective. I found it helped my Lyme disease recovery, but I also realised that it helps sports performance as well. And Arron is probably more aligned with the sports performance side than we are. Actually, we're more aligned with the health side of it and the benefits it brings if you're chronically ill, for instance, or the immune boosting possibilities that ozone might bring. But there is another side to it that we've not explored yet, which we're going to start doing, and that's sports performance. Anybody who's an amateur or a semi-pro athlete who, for instance, plays rugby or plays football at quite a high level, or is into weight training or powerlifting, or does endurance sports like cycling or long distance running, for instance, or the triathletes, everyone would benefit from having ozone TEMPAS treatments. Everybody, bar none. For instance, if you're going to do a competition, if you're a triathlete and you have a treatment 3, 4, 5 days before, you would feel the benefits massively on show day, if you like. Likewise, powerlifters and things like that. And the beauty about this therapy is there is nothing that shows up on. We've had professional athletes come, we've had drug tests after. There is nothing that shows up because it's oxygen. That's it. So there's no banned substances or anything like that that we use. So anyway, from a sports perspective, it's ideal. Ozone injections from an injury perspective are ideal, and Arron talks about those as well. So I'll shut up and we'll get on. I'd like to thank everybody who orders Health Bunker supplements from us. Please use the discount code if you're listening to this. The discount code is in the description of this podcast. So you can email us and ask us, info@healthbunker.co.uk, but it's in the show notes of this podcast that you're seeing now. So I'll see you soon. All right, welcome back to this Health Bunker podcast. I haven't done one of these for a while. So I thought I'd contact my mate from down in Shrewsbury and say we need to catch up. We haven't seen each other for about 2 years or so. And there's a lot's been going on with this clinic down there. So I'd like to welcome a chap I've known for about 5 years who helped to set our clinical side up in our clinic all them time ago during the nonsense we lived through in 2020. We battled our way through it and actually set it up there. Arron Carnahan. Hey up, Arron. How are you doing?
Hello, Dom. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you, mate. My hair's not growing any longer.
Mine's keeping short.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I went through all of lockdown without getting a haircut. Nothing was open. It was a bloody nightmare. So I was with a ponytail and all.
Yeah, it's a long time. Well, it's 5 years. 5 years ago this week, all that nonsense, you know.
Yeah. I guess that sort of speaks to the strength of what it is that we're doing, that 5 years later, we're still doing it.
Battled his way through, nearly getting closed down by the Gestapo, if you remember. Fortunately, we had an insider, if you're listening, Alea, I know she listens, who worked somewhere within the nonsense of the environmental health, managed to put a word in, and we stayed open, helping people.
Yeah, very grateful for that.
What weird times that were. I know you were travelling up from Shrewsbury and there were no one on the roads, were there?
There was, yeah. It's, one of the first trips I did, I got pulled over by a policeman. Where are you off to, son? Halifax. What are you doing up there? Get like the Spanish Inquisition, you know? What right have you got to be out on the bloody road? And fortunately, you know, during the work that we did, it was deemed essential. So on my way, but the roads were clear. But the last few trips down to Halifax just about killed me, man.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, hence why you decided to concentrate your efforts down where you are.
Exactly. Yeah,
but that's good as well, because obviously we'll get into this in a bit. You know, you're what, 3 or 4 hours away, distance traveling on a good day, probably 2.5, probably 2.5 on a good day.
2.5 on a good day.
Yeah.
One way trip.
Yeah. But yeah, you battled your way through as well, working in was the clinical side in a prison.
That's
during the 2020 nonsense. That can't have been easy. Jesus, having to battle your way through that, especially when the jabs came in.
Yeah, I didn't want anything to do with that. Everything else that needs to happen in a clinical setting needs to happen in a clinical setting. And then they dragged in all of the swabbing and the COVID and the vaccines and all that stuff. And I said, no, that's let's just have someone sensible on the ground, making sure that sick people get treatment. That was my right. And Christ, I was busy, Dom. Honestly, a lot of people were outside, you know, banging their pots and mowing their gardens and drinking beer in the sun, and then there was us working
in the dark with lunatics.
Yeah.
But we're here now, like you say. We're here now. So what we're going to discuss today? We're going to discuss. Do you know what? Somebody said, Dom, you're the godfather of ozone, right? And I said, I don't know if you remember that. I said that to my son, and it creeps him out. He said, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" And I didn't say it; it was someone else that said it. So, ozone is a very special thing in my life. I would say, without that, I don't actually know. Without the treatments that he can give, I don't know where I'd be today from the state that I was in several years ago. And there are so many different treatments you can do with ozone, and people obviously don't understand it, nor would they, unless they've been through what I've been through or been trained like you have. I mean, I was saying to a chap the other day, I've been doing ozone since 2008. So, you know, that's literally hundreds of different treatments, thousands, if probably, in whatever. How long's that? 15, nearly 20 years. So 18 years or whatever it is. And anyway, it's it can help you get through periods of stress, not just total illness, but mental clarity and things like that. Sports performance. I mean, Arron, you won't know this. You don't mind me mentioning your background in sport. You're a martial artist, black belt in Krav Maga. I'm right there, Anna. I've pronounced it right, Anna.
Well done.
I don't want to getting in a headlock and being Jason Bourne when the next time I see you. But so you're like me. I did a lot of weights. We know what's been sport, and I call it amateur, but it's like being a semi-pro. The levels that you trained at and I trained at times, because it takes up a lot of your time. And when you're injured and you want to perform better, Ozone's a fantastic method to help you do that, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is probably one of my most favorite modalities for two reasons. One, to keep everything going as it should. So basically, I like to think about it as resetting to factory settings.
Yeah.
I'm 51 now. I'm
Yeah.
not a spring chicken anymore, but I want to perform as though I was in my
Yes.
prime, and I still can. Also, if I've got something that's like a big event coming up, I will definitely do ozone therapy prior to that to get things really fizzing.
Yeah, is that like, say you've got something with Krav coming up,
Yeah.
a big training exercise, because I know you're a trainer as well, aren't you, in Krav, or whatever. Do you take people to competitions and things like that? Is that what you mean?
That's the thing about Krav Maga is that it's not a sport. It's close combat self-defense, so it's dangerous. So we can't have Krav Maga fights because someone will get hurt. So we can simulate everything that we do, and we can do hard sparring. But we often have long camps, so it can be 4 days of 4 hours of training per day, so it's really very grueling. So you want to be in top form before you go. So that's one of the things I do. There's 2 times a year specifically where I ensure that I get IV ozone treatment, and that is basically when the clocks go back and forth. So at the end of October, I will always give my immune system a real boost. And then this time of year, in fact, I've just done it yesterday. I've done my 10 pass IV, and it really helps offset any symptoms that I can get with hay fever.
Yes.
Brilliant for that.
That's what I found. I mean, both me and you struggled with sinus issues for a long time, and I found that ozone and high dose IV vitamin C, they're the two. Since we did the treatments going back 3 years ago, when I started the high dose vitamin C stuff, I've not had hay fever for 3 years, and now I'm an old bastard at 55.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with me.
I mean, go on, continue.
So for 40 odd years, I've had hay fever every year, and everyone knows what hay fever is if you've had it. But eyes burning and all that. I haven't had any symptoms. I know I'm touching wood because. So I mean, that alone is a big thing, isn't it? That's nothing to do with Lyme disease. That's just some sort of weird allergy that we've got that we've been given, thankful by the Eugenics Association.
It's your body just fooling you, really. It's thinking that it's deadly poison, and it's not. It's pollen. You've made a mistake. You fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. And but so behind when we're talking now over the audio, you don't want to see our ugly mugs, although you will be watching us, I suppose. I'm going to play me having a 10 pass so people can see it as we're talking it through. But let's start with those on 10 pass treatment since we brought it up. Let's start from the beginning, right? How did I perform? What is it? Because it looks invasive, but it isn't that invasive, is it?
No, it's just it's really no different to having an IV drip or even just having a blood test. The vein has to be punctured to insert a cannula or a butterfly cannula, just in order for the vein to release the blood in and out of the equipment, so that ozone can be infused with the blood. It's surprisingly painless. If people have ever had an IV drip before, they will feel that maybe it's cold. Whereas your blood is, your body temperature. It doesn't get a chance to cool down. You don't feel anything going in and out.
No pressure, nothing.
Nope.
I mean, we don't use butterflies, do we? And again, you won't understand this, anybody, but a butterfly cannula is just a sharp needle that stays in your arm. We use a catheter, that's not a metal object in your arm, because we can see issues arising with that, i.e. puncturing veins when somebody bends their arm, etc.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, depending on the quality of someone's veins, also about how warm they are, how well hydrated they are, the size that they are. Bigger people have got a greater blood volume. They've also got larger diameter veins, so the blood can flow in and out more easily. But to keep still for, say, 30 minutes, for example, for a 5-10 pass IV, that's not easy. That's a big ask, and people can get sore, tired arms. With an IV cannula, it's okay to actually move or bend the arm. It's not going to cause any discomfort.
Yeah, and we'll just explain the process. So there's a line in my arm, right? And you'll be watching this now if you're watching it on YouTube. And there's a line in my arm. There's blood coming out into a bottle, So how much blood's taken out?
How much blood we take out, Dom, depends pretty much on the size of the person. You're quite a solid chap, so we would look to be drawing about 180 mils out per pass.
Yeah.
What we want to be looking around the figure of for someone that's smaller is a maximum of 2 mils per kilogram of body weight. So my body weight, 75 kilos. Each pass, I'll be taking out 150 mils, but it all goes back in. So nothing gets lost.
Yeah, apart from the rubbish, because obviously there's a filter in the bottle.
There is, and it's quite marked how much detritus and residue there is left after that. It's not hemodialysis, but in an effect, you are actually filtering out a large portion of your blood. I find that you get a larger collection of people of residue in the eye set after the 10 passes. If people are particularly unwell, if there's a lot of chronic inflammation, if there is active viral infection and they're just feeling run down. Also, if they've got high cholesterol, that can be something that leads more rubbish at the bottom as well.
Yeah, just bad living, really. If you've got a lot of toxins and things like that. I mean, the filter's great because I'm not saying it's a 100% filter, but it certainly filters a lot of the crap out of your blood that's going around at that particular moment in time.
Yes.
So let's just say there's 150 mils taken out of people on average. Yeah, that's about a litre and a half of blood. I don't know, it's not the same blood, but it's a litre and a half of blood that's cleared over a 45 to 60 minute period.
Yep. See, now the way the circulatory system works is that the blood just doesn't move around in 1.5 liter chunks. It's mils at a time. So you're kind of doing all of it. There is a formula which states that you can never quite do all of it. You can do most, you can do some, you can do more, you can do a lot, but there'll be an upper threshold that you can never reach because you have to actually take all of the blood out.
Yes.
You can't do that.
Which is impossiable. Even on a blood transfusion, it's impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, they don't do that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, I brought up in, my dad was a butcher. So when he cut, a cow, when he cut in liver up, there's obviously blood in it. So no matter how much you take out, there's going to be blood in everywhere. So there's no way you can clean all the blood. But let's just say it's a fantastic way of disinfecting the blood, which then naturally disinfecting the blood. That naturally then goes around all of your body, into your brain, everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Particularly when you talk about the liver, that's an excellent point that you've made. Is that it's apart from the skin, it's the second biggest organ in the body. It's got a lot of jobs to do. It's got 500 different jobs, and it processes a lot of stuff, and it also acts as a big detox center. So the more unhealthy your lifestyle is, whether you're smoking, whether you're drinking, whether there's environmental pollutants, your liver's got a hell of a lot of work to do. And having a detoxification process such as IV ozone is, it really does assist liver health.
Yeah. And also what I find is, as well, after a treatment, I mean, I've got to say I do ozone more or less every day. Generally, obviously, insufflations or making ozonated water. That's what I do. But what I find is that ozone increases the uptake and the bioavailability of nutrients that you're taking as well, from food and from supplements. And IVs.
No, there's certainly research that suggests that that's the case. We touched on earlier about the current work that I'm doing, and I mostly tend to work with performance athletes.
Yeah.
So it's not just your bodybuilders. It's also strongmen and cricket players and rugby players, tennis players, all these kind of people. And what ozone tends to do specifically for them is that it increases their threshold for their output. Yes. They can basically do more and for longer. And it's very clever the way in which the body facilitates this process, because you've got a protein on your red blood cells called hemoglobin, whose job is basically to carry oxygen around to every single cell that oxygen is needed. And in an oxygen-rich environment, such as ozone is, because ozone breaks down very quickly from O3 to O2, there's a surplus of ozone, of oxygen rather. So that means that there is a decoupling process. It means that the hemoglobin is more willing to give off the oxygen that it's got rather than hang on to it for a rainy day. Our bodies are very, very tight. They don't like to do everything at full capacity. So there's always something in reserve. So if we can manipulate the environment where it does actually give off more than what is put in, performance is increased. performance and health and longevity, well-being, all these kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean it does last quite for an extended period, different in everybody else. In everybody, obviously, if somebody's suffering from really chronic fatigue, I noticed when I first had my early treatments, the effects of an ozone 10 pass didn't last as long as after my 10th one, for instance. When your body's gotten a lot cleaner and got rid of all the crap out of the system. But from a sporting perspective, it's difficult to gauge unless you're an athlete that's running. If you're doing your sport, it's easy to say I feel stronger and I feel like I've got more endurance, but you can't really measure it. Whereas from a strongman, for instance, they can actually measure that, or somebody who sprints or what have you, they can measure that. And from a weight perspective, I could tell that I was lifting a lot more, 15% more, which is a lot when you're lifting quite heavy weights to start with,
Absolutely it is, for sure. What's fascinating is that it doesn't just improve fast twitch muscle fiber response. So we're talking here about explosive work, maybe sprinting, maybe lifting a heavy weight once or twice. It also helps with aerobic capacity too. I've done work on quite a lot of people that run, either recreationally or competitively, and there was one person who shaved off half an hour off the time of their marathon.
I mean, just from an hour. 30 minutes. I mean,
I was astonished. They obviously keep coming back. They're happy. But that was just with a 5 pass. I do sometimes find that it's better to start off with maybe a 2 pass, build up to a 5 pass, up to a 10 pass, and we can also titrate the concentration of ozone as well.
Yeah, tweak it up and down. And some people, obviously, you can. The strengths work from roughly about 35 gamma. That it's called, for anybody who's listening that doesn't understand it, it's sort of irrelevant. But the measurement is 35 gamma, which is the mix of ozone to oxygen, and up to 70. Yeah. And some people work better at a lower dose, ironically, lower strength, and it actually works better for them. Some people, it needs to be stronger. Everyone's different. I noticed mine was around about 35 to 50 when I got more. It seemed to induce quite a decent detoxification in me if I went up to 70. But over time, your body gets used to it, so you can step up, can't you?
Yep, totally. I do find that I tend to use moderate doses with moderate amounts of passes as a starting point.
In fact, there is an argument that 2 passes are just as good as a 10 pass. And I'm talking when I say a pass, I'm talking of the bottle going in and out, as in it's filled with 150 mils of your blood, and then it gets ozonated and then it goes back in. That's a pass. So the treatment we're talking, you do that 10 times, hence the litre and a half of blood on average, roughly. But some of the treatments are lower, aren't they? Lower amounts of passes.
Yes. Yep. And also...
Sorry. Yeah, go on.
There's an anticoagulant that needs to get added in, because when the blood is outside of the body, it has a tendency to clot. Yeah. I think probably most people have seen maybe blood on the street or outside of a pub, and it's never just a nice slick, like a bottle of wine. It just turns into sludge. So we don't want that to happen while it's outside of the body. So for 1 or 2 passes, even up to 3, perhaps 4, we can use a compound called sodium citrate, which is an extremely ubiquitous compound in medicine. It's what you will find in a blood transfusion bag to keep the blood from clotting. So if someone's profoundly unwell and has a blood transfusion, they get their sodium citrate. There isn't an if, buts, or maybe. It's safe. It's fine. Higher doses, we use a compound called heparin, which is a blood thinner, and we're using it in microscopic doses. It's not to prevent clots, it's just to prevent the blood from coagulating while it's outside of the body. So if, for example, you tore your Achilles tendon and you're bed rest for 6 weeks, you'd have to have daily injections of this heparin type stuff, and you would have it in tens of thousands of units, whereas we use maybe 1,000.
It's minuscule, isn't it?
So it's tiny amount.
In fact, within an hour or 2, it's out your system anyway, isn't it?
It is. But
sodium citrate is a slightly different compound. It's not the same compound as heparin, is it?
No.
Nope. The reason why people who are ill probably with chronic fatigue or Lyme disease need to sort of be aware of this treatment is because going back to the performance athletes, what works for them also helps recovery of illnesses as well in a similar way. Because if you've got Lyme, in fact, when I had Lyme disease, it was like our 80-year-old. I was suffering from chronic fatigue or tired, etc. Which your body's recovering from all these attacks from these toxins, and so it needs to be helped to recover, which is basically what it's doing to the performance athletes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally true. And we touched before on environmental factors, the air that we breathe and the
water,
food that we eat, the water. Yeah, all of these things are recent. Recent in terms of human time span. We've been knocking around now for a long, long time. But as individuals, you've got 55 years. I've clocked up 51.
Yeah.
But a lot has changed just in that one lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't evolved to deal with that. No. So these interventions are really worthwhile to ensure that your body is operating as efficiently as it possibly can in a toxic environment.
Well, a pharmacist once asked me what was the overriding quality of ozone treatments, or what did I get personally out of it, and through my obviously journey with Lyme. And I actually said it was more the mental benefits that it caused me, because obviously anybody who suffers from any form of mental illness knows it's debilitating more than physical illness, because your mind can get you through a lot of shit. But if that's gone and you're suffering from the physical stuff as well, you're a little bit goosed. Yeah. What I found was, he said, well, what did it do? I said, it got rid of all my anxiety. That's for me. I'm not saying it for anybody else, just for me. After about 7 or 8 treatments, the anxiety that I've been carrying for 15 years went. And I know people who are listening now will have anxiety. I know a couple of people that will probably tune in every week to listen to me and our Chris talk shite. But I know they struggle with it. I can't say enough how much mental clarity it gave me, those treatments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a bit different because I came into this scene quite well, and the first contact I had with Ozone was obviously through Godfather Dom, and, and it was ozonated water. Yes. And when you consider how little ozone there is in water compared to an IV treatment, for example, the remarkable thing was how effective it was.
Yes.
I just had an immediate increase in energy and feeling of well-being.
Yeah.
Then we obviously progressed on to, when we were training up other staff, and I was using my arm and your arm as target practice. I had a fair few amount of treatments. Yes. And I used to stop up in Halifax, stay up in a little travel lodge and go to a pub and have my tea. Yeah. And I had my first 10 pass, and I think I had Myers cocktail.
Yes.
Immediately afterwards. And my God, I just didn't know what to do with myself. I thought if I was in Wales now, I'd go up Snowdon.
Yeah, and that is how it makes you feel. And I think if you're carrying an illness, it doesn't give you that type of feeling, but it alleviates the symptoms of that tiredness and mental issues that you're having. But if you're well, it makes you want to go and run a marathon. That's the overriding difference of people who are chronically ill and people who aren't. And going back to when he says a Myers cocktail, by the way, it doesn't mean you were having that in the bar. It means a Myers cocktail is a high dose vitamin C drip with all the B vitamins in there as well. B2, B1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 12, and some minerals as well. Magnesium, zinc sometimes chucked in there. But yeah, and what we find is the old adage of, I remember hearing Schallenberger talking about in America, going back about 10 years, he says, we've changed his mindset now on giving people nutrients after ozone, because the old mindset was that ozone is that much of an antioxidant. If you give them vitamin C afterwards, and vitamin C is an antioxidant, it's counterproductive. It'll clear out the benefits of what the ozone. But actually, they found out something totally different, which is that it actually opens up the bioavailability of all nutrients. And so when you put nutrients in afterwards, it's actually, you get more bang for your buck, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, there's no argument there. I mean, I'm sure some of your athletes that you're dealing with at the moment are benefiting from that type of treatment.
Yeah, yeah, they all do.
All right, well, I want to. So we've talked about ozone 10 pass treatments. We've actually skipped a little bit into ozone water, which is a very simple thing. I always say to people, what can you do at home if you're ill or you want to improve your performance? What equipment can you buy at home that you can treat yourself? Obviously, the treatments we're talking about, you need a qualified person to deal with this, someone who's been doing it quite a while. But because you're sticking a needle in your arm at the end of the day. However, there are things you can buy ozone equipment to get you into ozone that then like Arron said, having a glass of ozonated water and feeling the energetic effects of it would actually show you that the treatment has actually got legs. And you can buy equipment from Promo Life or just cheap equipment for about $500 or $600 that you can get. I'm saying cheap. It's relative in the scheme of things that you buy. You can have it for life. For me, that's a bit of cheap equipment. But ozonated water, I have several times throughout the week, and I find that not just from an energetic point of view, but it seems to clean your digestive tract, and it's good from an antiparasitical point of view as well. Mm-hmm. I know I've shown you the images of my little friends.
Yeah, my screensavers.
Scream savers. Yeah, but so anyway, we'll move on to ozone injections, right?
Yeah, very good.
Because I mean, you've stuck probably more needles in me than anybody else, ozone injection wise, and the improvements in my shoulders and back, lower back, and even glutes from that. Lyme disease stopped me squatting. And I squat every week now. You shouldn't do that as you're getting older. It should be the other way around.
Big fan of ozone injections, particularly if someone is recovering from injury, if they've got some kind of autoimmune response, like a rheumatoid arthritis, that sort of thing. Just general aches and pains is especially useful for any kind of tendinopathies, which classic examples of these are maybe tennis elbow or golfer's elbow, because we can use a needle that's extraordinarily fine. It's smaller needle in terms of gauge, so how wide it is, than even an insulin needle is, and they're very small indeed. So it's surprisingly painless. I tend to find it works best for shoulders, elbows, knees, ankles. Tend to avoid spines, obviously, but if there's muscular issues around the spine, then we can target localized ozone injections for those. And what's the most astonishing thing is that there is an immediate benefit to it.
Yes.
Often with injections, it takes a little while and things don't start to feel right for ages if it's maybe like a cortisone injection. But ozone injections are pretty much instantaneous in terms of increasing range of movement, of decreasing inflammation and decreasing pain. They're very good, very useful for that. And there isn't a sort of upper limit. So if I was injecting someone with a cortisone injection, so a steroid that reduces inflammation, there's a limit. Have one now and maybe we'll see you again in 4 to 6 months. Whereas ozone injections, we can do them frequently if required. Because what I've found is around 75% of people who come in for a pre-existing injury or ailment, it's a once and done job. I've seen people for their shoulders once, and that's all they've ever needed to come in.
Yeah.
It's quite
and from an energetic perspective, there's two things that always give me energy. That's ozone water and injections, ironically. Okay. I don't get the same from a 10 pass. I do get a bit of an uplift, but not the same as somebody who's fully fit. Probably because of the chronic fatigue type of issues that I've had over the years, it sort of blocked that pathway maybe. But from injections, they really give me a buzz. Doing ozone injections, it's like, and it's not like a caffeine buzz either. We don't talk. It's like a natural buzz. There's no come down to it. There's no flattening out or feeling a bit shaky afterwards or anything like that. It's a total flat. It's more energetic. Somebody's give you a lift. It's not even a strange feeling. I can't even say it's a strange feeling. Natural.
It's kind of not what you'd expect, because I guess the nearest analogy would be something like caffeine, whereas you have enough caffeine, you feel more energized. However, there's a trade-off because you feel a bit more anxious, more edgy, you might be a bit jittery or shaky or have butterflies in your stomach. This is that
without all that.
Absence of the absence of those with all the benefits.
Yeah, yeah. But from an ozone injection perspective, I felt so many benefits from ozone injections, and over time, it just alleviates a lot of the pain, and also movement. You get a lot more movement. I remember a guy coming into the clinic in the early days when we probably around about 2021. It was the guy who owned the building, if you remember, and he couldn't move his left arm, one of his arms anyway. It was like a penguin. He couldn't move it past that point. His other arm were okay. Yeah, you give him 2 injections, and he said, "Right, move your arm," and he lifted it above his head, probably for the first time in I don't know how many years. And we were all amazed as well, but with no pain. But we say this now, but none of it surprises us anymore because we see it all the time.
Yeah, that's it. I think it surprises the recipients more than it does us because we know what we're expecting to see.
Yeah.
And if someone is carrying an injury, or they've, or, you know, whether it's a long term thing or whether they've just fallen over and injured a limb, people walk in a way that protects that area. So if you end up with a bit of a bad shoulder, you end up tending to hunch your shoulder. So you're bringing your shoulder up towards your ear a bit and you're favoring the other side. And that causes an awful lot of stress around the muscles, which hold, I mean, the shoulder, for example, is a very delicate structure. It's a ball and socket joint, of which there's only 2 in our body. The hip is the other one. And the shoulder is all connected by a lattice work of 33 different muscles. So there's a hell of a lot going on in there. And if one of them gets injured, the others have to compensate, and then they get tired, and then they don't want to move anymore. So the shoulder remains, things don't want to work. And then you get a bit of muscle atrophy, and that's muscle waste.
They're all very small muscles as well, aren't they? It's not that you haven't got like a chest muscle. It's obviously there's 2 or 3 in there, but they're quite small, little intricate muscles as well, aren't they?
Oh, and they come from your neck, and they come from your arm, they come from your back, they come from your chest. They're everywhere. So shoulders are a fascinating thing, and ozone injections work very, very well for shoulder injuries.
Yeah, very alleviating. And a few months ago, I think I mentioned it earlier, I spoke to a chap, Oliver Eaton, who is in Bedford, and Arron's trained up to the same point as Oliver as well. So if you're in, what we'll do is we'll sort of round this off now, but I'll ask Arron to leave his details, and I'll put the details in the description. So what people have been asking me is, you're up in Halifax, is there anywhere further down south? So I'm giving people options here that, I've got people, or I know people, Arron knows people. There is I won't call it. There are a few people up and down the country that do these treatments, and it's a matter of looking for them. And Arron's one of these people, and he's in Shrewsbury. Oh, you're still in Shrewsbury? You said you're going through a move.
Oh, we're just moving across to another unit on the same estate. Okay. So we're still in Shrewsbury, just on the outskirts of Shrewsbury. Lovely little place.
A nice expansion as well, building a all-purpose sort of wellness place as well, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it. So my hench clinic is going to be bigger. There's going to be more facets to the work that we do. There's going to be a gym there and recovery units, chiropractic, all sorts of stuff. It's really exciting.
Interesting, yeah. So whereabouts? Let people know where you are, Arron. I'll put the details in, and then at least people do like hearing where it is as well, sadly.
Okay. The contact is Strom Sports, and you'll find that on the internet.
Yeah.
Just outside of Shrewsbury, the postcode is SY44UG.
Right, okay. And I'll put the contact number and everything like that if you want to contact. Arron does everything, more or less everything we do, don't you? But you do a slightly different thing with sports as well, some other stuff that we haven't sort of got into. But, do you do the diagnostics there as well?
We do a lot of blood testing here.
Yeah. So
a lot.
Yeah. So there's diagnostics as well, if you want to discuss that as well. With Arron. So anyway, okay. All right. Cheers for joining us, Arron.
Nice. Good to see you again, Dom.
We'll catch up again on something else. We'll pick another subject, maybe iDose vitamins and IVs and things like that.
I think there's a lot of different things that we can talk about for sure.
Yeah. Well, I hope everyone's enjoyed this half-hour chat we've had with Arron. We had a couple of technical issues, probably from my end, but I think everything went smooth. And we'll catch up next time. All right, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope it brought some information to you that you possibly didn't know before. As I said at the start of this podcast, Arron's details are in the show notes if you want to contact him if you're further down south than we are. You can contact us at info@healthbunker.co.uk if you want any more information on Ozone or anything else that we do that you might think might help you or might not help you. And that's about it. We've got new products coming out on Health Bunker supplements. We've got creatine, we've got L-glutamine, we've got D-ribose powders, we've got collagen powder that's coming out. All these will be out back end of April, I'd say early May. We've got a new liposomal magnesium lemon flavour coming out, which is ideal for adults and children. Don't forget the children's multivitamin liposomal, which is strawberry flavoured. The kids love it. It's sugar free as well. It's only sweetened with xylitol, which is good for the teeth. And yeah, that's it. Please use the discount code 25% off for all listeners on Health Bunker and our Sheep Farm sister channel. So that's about it. Join us next time. I am going to try and do more of these shorter ones, probably about half an hour like this one is, because obviously there's a lot of information compact into these podcasts, and I know when I was listening to stuff like this it used to fry my head. So I'm going to try and keep them to half an hour, but I'm going to try and get them so it's at least 2 weekly in release going forward, probably into May and June. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon. Good health to you all.